For 2 weeks straight, I only played insanely old games. No battle passes, no microtransactions, no live service, no online gameplay, just like in my last two videos, but this time, I'm playing even older ones. Speaking of those two videos, if you haven't seen those yet, maybe you should go check those two out first so you can kind of catch up on all the lore for my little gaming experiment and then come back to watch this one. Well, in my first video, I only played old video games with quotations, including PS3, PS2, and PS1 era titles, and although that video was received extremely well, a lot of you guys kept saying, "But Milky, these games aren't even that old. We want you to play even older ones." So I did just that. I made my second video titled I only played really old games for 2 weeks straight, including N64, SNES, and Sega Genesis titles, and sure enough, that video was received even more positively, but yet again, I looked in the comments and saw, "But Milky, these games still aren't even that old." Well, ask and you shall receive, so here you go, I did just that. I only played insanely old games for 2 weeks straight to see if these games still hold up after all these years, some even reaching up to not 10, not 20, not 30, not even 40, but 49 years since their releases. I wanted to see just how far, or maybe not, we've come in the world of video games. Hey there all you beautiful guardians of the glaze, welcome back to the Milky Donut. If you're new here, this is the Milky Donut. We do all things video games, movies, and pop culture. And if you're not new here, man, have you been working out? Because you look great. Before we get started, I should say that I do have a goal of reaching 10,000 subscribers as quickly as I can. So if you could go ahead and like this video, leave a glazy comment, hype it up if you can, and subscribe, it would help me out a ton. And not only does it help me out, it also gives you the chance of becoming subscriber of the week, as you can see right here. Every week, I go through my videos and just see who's gone out of their way to leave a little bit of extra support for the Milky Donut channel. And that could very well be you. And if it is you, you get shouted out in every single video that I upload for that week, as well as getting your name put on my little subscriber of the week plaque, as you can see right here with Mr. Nesquick. So yeah, if I were you, I would subscribe. And with all that nonsense out of the way, let's go ahead and jump back in time to play some insanely old games to really see how much we've improved on or strayed away from what made playing video games so amazing in the first place. The rules to my little time travel experiment are yet again nearly the same as last time, only with one minor difference. This time, I can only play titles that are pre-SNES era. That means I'll only be playing NES, Atari, and arcade titles. And yes, I know that there are other systems and games that existed around the same time, but for my sanity's sake, we're only focusing on these systems for this video. There's no hopping back and forth between old games and new games. It doesn't matter if I don't like the games or if I get bored, I get bored. That's it. As was the case last time, I wanted to truly immerse myself into these games to give them the proper chance that they deserve, to prove themselves to me and show me what they're made of, and for them to show me that I'm actually just not that good at video games. So make sure you stick around to the end to watch me become a changed man. Yet again, man, you guys are really taking years off my life with this series. But before I jump into the older titles that I played, including Pitfall, Defender, Pac-Man, and Mrs. Pac-Man, I want to talk about the first game that I played for the NES, which is none other than the apparently legendary Blaster Master. Another one that many of you recommended that I play, and this one felt like a completely different type of retro difficulty compared to something like Contra or even Castlevania. And first off, can we just go back to a time where you could just show a few slides of a kid losing his pet frog, that of which gets mutated by some random radioactive material just sitting in dude's backyard for some reason, then jumps down a hole to find his frog, where he then stumbles upon a high-tech battle tank, and that was just totally acceptable, like that was the game? Yeah, this game makes zero sense, and I love it. At first, it felt pretty simple. You have this little tank called Sophia, and you're basically just driving around underground caves, shooting enemies, and looking for your pet frog. Basically every little kid's dream. And for the first few minutes, it felt pretty manageable for the most part, but then the game did that thing that old games like to do, where it says, alright, this is where we part ways, I'm done here, I've taught you nothing, you will learn nothing, but you will have fun, hopefully. Because Blaster Master is yet again one of those games that doesn't really explain anything because it doesn't really need to. There's no clear direction, there's no annoying prompts to hold your little hands if you get stagnant for more than 5 seconds, because believe me, you will get stagnant for way more than 5 seconds, and there's no safety net. You just start branching off into these maze-like areas, and suddenly you're in completely different zones, some of which are inside the tank, and some of them allow you to use the mechanic of getting out of the tank and briefly turning the game into a top-down game, which is a super cool mechanic, by the way, where you're just a tiny little guy on foot fighting things that have absolutely zero business being able to slime you as easily as they do, but that's besides the point. Throughout this entire experiment, I've noticed this difficulty pattern in many, if not all, of the older titles that I've been playing. Modern games often assist you or keep you on life support for your entire playthrough if you're struggling. These ones, however, say, how about Fuck that. I'm gonna kill you, resuscitate you, kill you again, beat you while you're unconscious, then resuscitate you just long enough for you to unplug your own life support. Well, Blaster Master takes that idea and runs with it in a way that feels intimidating because you have to remember I'm still fairly new to these types of games. But man, is it a rush. Because the deeper you go, oh boy, the more the game stops feeling like a straightforward action platformer and starts to feel like an absolute maze. I was constantly asking myself if I was even going the right way or doing the right thing, or there's no confirmation until you either survive long enough to figure it out or you get absolutely cooked by something that you didn't see coming. But what's interesting is once it clicks even a little bit, it starts to feel incredibly rewarding because Blaster Master doesn't baby you. Every small bit of progress feels like you actually earned it. Finding a new area doesn't feel like the game led you there, it feels like you discovered it because you did discover it. Who knew 8 and 16-bit titles could make the sense of exploration feel more satisfying than some modern open world games? And with that being said, compared to a lot of modern titles, that's probably one of the biggest differences. A modern version of Blaster Master would almost definitely have markers and quest logs, fast travel locations, endless saves, hints, and constant reminders of what to do next. And while yeah, sure, that makes things easier, it also completely ruins that feeling of genuine discovery where you're just lost in a world and slowly mapping it out for yourself. There's nothing more satisfying than being able to effortlessly backtrack through endless mazes and screens because you've had to actually learn every single pathway. And visually, the game looks amazing to me. I've really become a fan of these. I don't know what it is. I love the art style of these games. I think they look so good. Even with how simple it is, there's just something unique and memorable about it. The underground areas feel eerie in a way that sticks with you, not because they're insanely graphically impressive, but because your brain fills in any small gaps that might be there. The controls, let me tell you, these old games, their controls, we have way regressed because the controls felt insanely smooth. I think that might have been my biggest shock when I started playing these older games. The way you move and traverse the world is so streamlined and efficient, it felt ridiculously well done. The lack of button lag and immediate responsiveness now makes pressing X on my PS5 controller feel like it takes 5 business days to respond. And that brings us to our next stop on our little time travel journey, which was possibly one of the biggest moments in my entire experiment, going all the way back to some of the games that started it all. The absolute arcade kings themselves, Pac-Man and Mrs. Pac-Man. And I'm not gonna lie, this is where things started to get a little bit strange for me because the concept of these games is so simple on the surface that I genuinely didn't know what mindset to approach them with. Well, I'm an idiot. I learned so quickly that, Milky, you don't need a mindset to play these games. You just simply play the game, and the game will play you harder. And I'll be honest, I thought this game was gonna suck. I'll be real, I know, I said it. I thought they'd be repetitive and quickly become a slog, but instead I ended up understanding why people have been so obsessed with them for so many years. And I started with the original Pac-Man because I felt that was only right, and it's honestly kind of unbelievable how stressful a game with a yellow circle and ghost blobs can genuinely be. And like I mentioned, the concept is unbelievably simple. You move through a maze, eat pellets, avoid ghosts, grab power pellets, and repeat. That's it. But after about 10 minutes, I was almost hypnotized by the sound of Pac-Man as I traversed through the maze, avoiding death around every single corner. And the thing that surprised me the most is just how clean the design is. Not necessarily aesthetically, but just how the game works. It works so well. And I'll be honest again, at first it did look a little bland, but I quickly forgot about it and I had an absolute blast playing it. I lost a few hairs and grew a few gray ones, but it was worth every single minute. Pac-Man has basically one simple idea and squeezes every single ounce of tension possible out of it. The ghosts all move differently, the maze is 4 split-second decisions, 99% of which I made the wrong one and immediately regretted it. I have more regrettable decisions in this than I have in my actual life, and that's saying something, believe me. And the second you get cornered, panic immediately sets in. Now, as much fun as I had playing Pac-Man, after I played Mrs. Pac-Man, I quickly understood why so many people say that it's the superior version, because Mrs. Pac-Man feels less like a sequel and more like the definitive version of what Pac-Man was always supposed to be. The original game did become a little bit predictable once I started memorizing patterns, but Mrs. Pac-Man feels way more alive and chaotic. The ghost movement feels less rigid, the mazes change, the pacing feels faster, and there's just more personality overall. And something cool that I learned was that each ghost actually has a different way of trying to corner you. Each ghost has its own tactic that differs from the others. Visually, it feels a lot more colorful and energetic than its predecessor. The fruit bonuses and the different maze layouts give the game a level of charm that the original just didn't quite fully achieve for me. And while I was researching for this video, it seemed that many players consider Mrs. Pac-Man to be one of the greatest arcade games ever made, specifically because it fixes almost every limitation of the original while keeping everything that made it so addictive. The 80s arcade culture also helped fuel the fire for not only Pac-Man but many arcade games, because it introduced something that had never really been a big thing until arcade gaming: competition. Getting out of school on a Friday afternoon and running straight to the arcade to see if your high score was still standing. Man, what I would do to be a teen in the 80s. But what's wild is that despite being games from the late 70s and early 80s, they still managed to hook your brain in a way that a lot of modern games just seem to not be able to do. There's really no progression system in a lot of them, and sometimes the main goal isn't even beating them. The gameplay itself is the reward. You play because getting better is satisfying. Older games had to survive entirely off of gameplay because they didn't have anything else to hide behind. And it made me realize that a lot of video games now put more emphasis on the video than they do the game. And that's a problem. And that brings us to our last stop on our time travel journey, where I played a little game called Pitfall for the Atari 2600, and this game blew me away for completely different reasons, because this game came out in 1982, I repeat 1982, and somehow it already felt like the blueprint for platforming games for years to come, way before platformers were even really invented. I was swinging over pits, jumping over logs, fuck those logs, dodging snakes and scorpions, climbing underground tunnels, and it genuinely feels ambitious in a way that I was not expecting from an Atari game, because I'm a cultureless idiot. I learn my lesson every video. You would think I would learn by now. And what really got me was just the sense of adventure in an Atari game, which is something I never thought I would say. Every screen actually feels like a smaller part of a massive jungle journey, and the game just kept going. Apparently it has over 250 screens, which is absolutely bonkers that the Atari 2600 could handle all of that. And this game is fun and all, ladies and gentlemen, but holy shit, is it unforgiving. I thought the Lion King for the SNES had tedious timing. No. Some of the timing you need for the obstacles in Pitfall is nothing short of absolute insanity. You have to be extremely precise sometimes, especially when swinging over pits or dealing with the rolling logs, that of which became my mortal enemy after about 3 seconds. And again, like a lot of older games, Pitfall doesn't give two fucks if you fail. It's called Pitfall. What do you expect? That doesn't even sound like a good time. It just throws you back in and says, yeah, you're gonna have to do better than that, buddy. And with that being said, that brings us to the conclusion of our video. Wait a minute. There's one more that I seem to have tried to delete from my memory due to PTSD reasons. Yeah, we have one more stop, ladies and gentlemen, and that is Defender for the Atari 2600. And I gotta say, this game genuinely made me feel like my brain was operating at about 0.08 capacity. Now, I've heard of Defender, and I've heard people talk about it before like it was a legendary arcade classic, but nothing could have really prepared me for actually sitting down and trying to play it for the first time in the modern age, because this game feels less like an Atari game and more like I was immediately transported through time to a local arcade in the 80s. The sounds, the look, man. This is the type of game that makes you feel like a true gamer. The second the game started, I was immediately overstimulated. Like, enemies everywhere. Humans getting abducted off the ground, lasers shooting across the screen. Meanwhile, you're trying to control this tiny Dorito that moves at approximately 3 times the speed of light. I swear, the first 10 minutes of playing Defender felt like trying to fly a F-15 after about 12 beers. A lot of the Atari games that I played are pretty simple, like one button, one objective, very straightforward. Defender is not that. Not at all. You're reversing direction, managing momentum, watching your radar while rescuing idiot civilians, blasting enemies, and trying not to crash into the terrain all at the same time. Now, I've never really played arcade games, but man, this is what I imagine when I think of an arcade game. I struggled my ass off, and apparently this wasn't 100% just me being bad, although like most of it probably was. I looked into it a little bit more afterwards and saw that tons of people online were saying the exact same thing. Even back in the day, Defender had a reputation for being one of the hardest arcade games to learn just because of how mechanically demanding it was. Many played it, but very few actually mastered it. And I'm not one that I did not master this game at all. But beneath all of the chaos and the stress lies an insanely satisfying gameplay loop where you slowly begin controlling the chaos instead of simply reacting to it. You stop panicking and start to anticipate enemy movements. You start to actually rescue humans intentionally instead of accidentally stumbling into them while you're trying not to get slimed by everything else that's on the screen. Defender almost feels like the complete opposite of modern design philosophy. Defender literally wants you to lose not only the game but also your mind, dignity, and self-worth, but that's what makes it so fun. I had an absolute blast playing this game. There's just this raw, unapologetic crack energy that's present in some of these old games that I didn't even know that I needed in my life. And for an Atari game, it's pretty impressive how much is happening on screen at once. The side-scrolling, radar system, along with the speed of everything, it feels ambitious in a way that almost shouldn't work on that hardware. To say the least, playing these games made me learn so many things about where gaming even came from and where it all started and why it was so good back in the day. Every single time I play these games for these videos, I just get proven yet again why these, I don't know why I have had low expectations. It literally made me feel dumb, like a brain-rotted millennial that has no idea what I'm doing, which is correct. So thank you for all of the recommendations. Give me more. I have a huge list and I'm gonna make more videos if you guys like these videos. I'm overwhelmed because it's a big list and these games are not easy. I'm making a Battletoads video which was supposed to come out when you're seeing this video, but I am getting absolutely cooked in that game, so I'm gonna play it for a little bit longer and then make my video probably next Saturday. So don't forget to like, comment, hype this video, and subscribe to become a guardian of the glaze. Don't forget to join the Discord, link in the description, and I'll see you next time on the Milky Donut.